How's it going, everybody? My name is Will Robson. You can check out my work at facebook.com/RobsonInc, or you can check me out on Twitter at RobsonInc. So I'm doing another penciling video because I already got quite a lot of views on the other one and it's only been up for a day. So I figured I'd just keep recording stuff. And I never know how much people want me to post and record and all that stuff. I know I've been away from recording for quite a little while, so I guess I'll come back and record some more. Anyway, so this is a page, or the second page for a book called Mort. Oh no, it's not called Mort anymore. It's it's called Todd, or Time of Death. We changed the name, well, the writer changed the name, because I think there's another comic by that title, and Time of Death fits a lot better anyway. So what you're watching me here is, this is a scene in the intro where this girl is murdered by a mysterious man, and he's a mysterious man because he's shredded in shadow and you're not supposed to know who he is. And it's pretty funny because the last two pages for different comics have involved the death of a woman. I had to draw a woman being shot in the head in another image of another book, and then now I had to draw a woman with her throat slit and just a murder. So it's very jolly, fun, happy comics I'm drawing. But anyway, what you can see here is a lot more tweaking and playing around with stuff than the last page I posted. So I was just taking a sip there, and that's because I don't think, I mean, for some reason you just get these pages every now and then where it just takes you ages to get it, and it all has to do with storytelling. It took me a good 6 or 7 different attempts at laying out this page to get the storytelling right, because this is, you know, it's a murder and there's quite a bit of action, and there's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, how many, 6 panels, which doesn't sound like that much, but for the amount that I had to fit in the panels, it can be quite taxing, but it's good all of this can fit in one page. So this was a panel that we had to decide on, because before he was just chucking her to the floor, and he smashes her into a window, and then I thought if he just grabbed her and chucked her on the floor, that's not as dramatic as a backhand, which is what he's doing now. And before I had her kicking her, but we agreed that, and when I say we, I'm talking about Alan Hayburn, who's the writer. We agreed that that was even a bit much, even though we're showing a girl being murdered. Like somebody sort of doing a foot stomp to the chest is a bit much. But what I'm doing here is I'm doing a lot of Dutch tilts, and that means basically that if this was being filmed with a camera, the camera would not be on a tripod that is balanced or level with the ground. It would be tilted, pretty much like what you'd see in the old Adam West Batman television shows, because it just adds sort of a sense of drama, and there's a sense that there's something a bit off. And you're also going to see me tweak this face a lot, and in the end I decided to not draw her face, mainly because it just looked a bit too, like you could see there, it looked too comical, and she still looked a bit too cutesy, and I just thought it was really uncomfortable to see a girl's face as she's being smashed into a window. So then I went with a stylized approach. I mean, she is facing away from the light source, so I figured her face would be pretty much in shadow. And also, I kind of wanted to be, you know, you see her face on the last page and she's looking pretty and normal, and then suddenly she's smashed into a window, and this is where it gets artsy-fartsy, but it's like the last time we see her as a normal person, because the next time you see her, she's obviously got her face all slashed up, because you don't see her in any of these other panels. Like this one is like a POV shot where basically it's what she's seeing. She sees this crazy murderer over her head with a knife. And I'm doing lots of cheats here, like copying and pasting the hands and flipping them, because I work digitally, so you can get away with stuff like that. And again, I'm putting more detail into my pencils. Still not as much line weights as I like. I put little render lines in there just to let me know the thickness of how I want to go. The reason I'm not doing full detailed pencils with lighting and shading and all that is because, as I'm the inker for these projects as well, it's a real waste of time. I mean, if I was just a penciler, of course I'd put in all the shading and stuff, but that's the type of stuff I can do in the inks. But you should see my pencils before, where I didn't care about this type of stuff, because, as I said in my last video, I realised it was actually holding my art back, because I figured, oh, I can just do all this extra detail, like all these candles and stuff I wouldn't even draw right now. I like, oh yeah, I can do that in the ink stage, but then you sort of treat your inks more like pencils than inks, and, you know, leave the inks to the inks. It's nice when you really pencil out a page and you hop into the inks and there's not too much thinking going on. It's just dumb, fun tracing, which is great. Oh, but I mean, inking's not tracing. I mean, there's a lot to do with line weights, and you got to get all the form right and stuff like that. And that's definitely the thing I think I've improved on the most this year. I mean, I've come a long way if you see my old videos, and that's just by sticking at it every day, but I've really decided, I've been focusing so much on becoming a good penciler, a good draftsman, a good illustrator, that I forgot that I'm also inking all of my own stuff. And if I'm not a good inker, then my stuff's not going to look great, because, bad inking can really ruin a piece of art. So I've just been looking at a lot of Todd McFarlane inking, a lot of John Byrne inking, a lot of Jonathan Glapion and Danny Mickey, who are inkers on Batman and Spawn, and Terry Austin, obviously, and picking up a lot of stuff from them, and John Rector as well. And if you guys, anybody who watches my videos should know who John Rector is. But you can check out his work at, I believe, Art by Jar is his YouTube, or Scribbles with Jonathan. I do a live stream with him. He's the man. Anyway, so I'm drawing all these really mushy, metally, melted candles here. This was quite a really cool idea that Alan had in the script, which was, you don't see the guy killing the girl because there's all these candles in the way, and I really emphasized the flames, that it was a tension moment, and this is kind of like a sacrifice mode as well, so I figured it might be cool if there was a lot of flames and a lot of atmosphere to this. And then obviously the next shot, suddenly there's a new character in there, and the candles have melted, which says two things. Now you can see that time has passed because the candles have melted, and now you can sort of slightly see her in the shot. So as you can see here, I changed the perspective of the main character Todd here, because I just didn't like it. It didn't look three-dimensional enough to me. So now I sort of have him here looking a bit sad, as he's leaning over this body. And just to give you a brief idea what this book is, it's about this guy who he basically finds as a child that he can see when people die. So basically he'll look at you and he can see the exact moment of how you die and the date. So he starts taking this sort of medicine to help him with it. So basically it goes down to, if he touches you, he can see when you die. And he gets wrapped up in trying to figure out who the killer is in this big sort of murder thing. It's a really great story, and I'm thoroughly looking forward to drawing it, and that's why I'm drawing it. Anyway, so what am I doing here? There's going to be a lot of awkward pauses because I was watching England versus Uruguay and was very annoyed by that game, but let's not go into that. And as you can see, this is what I'm doing now. Since Manga Studio 4, the perspective ruler I think is better than in Manga Studio 5, just for setting up an easy perspective. But that was I only thought that way because I guess I didn't really, in my pencils, rough out any perspective. I would just sort of do it afterwards. But now I'm really chucking in all those perspective lines so I can get the exact shot I want. So I can just use the perspective ruler and do it very quickly. So as you can see here, I've changed his face quite a bit. This isn't even the face that I use in the end, because I liked the way this face was coming along, but then I thought it was kind of weird. He wasn't sort of facing the way I wanted him to face, and then I had this weird problem with his hair where it looked absolutely flat on his skull. It wasn't popping out, so I got rid of that. You're going to see me do that face a good couple of times. And this is a huge problem of mine, is that I drew his face, even though it is sort of a down shot of his face, it's still a bit straight on. And as I said in my last video, I hate drawing anything straight on because suddenly it doesn't look as three-dimensional, it just looks flat. So I had trouble there, so then I decided, you know what, I'm going to move on to the next thing. And this is actually this morning. All of that before was last night. So she has this coin in her mouth, and she has her throat slit. So you saw that mini pause there, that was me googling throat slits, and then I sort of just got an idea of like blood splattered on her face, and then you see me draw a bit of hair over her forehead, and then I realized, oh man, actually she's supposed to have an ancient symbol carved into her forehead. So what I'm doing here, you'll see me erase a bit, and I just chucked down some quick lines for her hair. I forgot about that. Chucked quick lines for her hair, just so I knew the pattern of where the hair should flow out from. So that's why you see the blue under there. And this is just a constantly tweaking page. You even see me tweak. I get to a point in this page where I draw a shelf that's in the foreground of that bottom panel, so I can cover up drawing Todd's legs, and also because I'm trying to get a good balance of middle ground, foreground, and background. This is something that John Romita used to hammer home to loads of artists. I've listened to this Todd McFarlane interview where he talked about how he used to go up to the Marvel Studios and meet with John Romita Senior, not Junior, and he used to chat with him, and he said, every shot should have a middle ground, foreground, and background, so that and you can get a real sense of depth. And if you look at a lot of Tom McFarlane stuff, you can generally see a lot of middle ground, foreground, and background, which makes it really interesting. So what I'm drawing here, the candles, would be sort of the middle ground, and the people, would sort of be the middle ground as well, and then obviously the background would be like the bed and stuff. But there was really no foreground, and the moment I add this little shelf in, which I think is coming up later, it instantly to me made it like, oh yeah, now this is a really cool looking shot. So if you want to just spice up your shots a bit, try and stick something far in the foreground. I mean, you saw me do it on the other panels where I stuck more candles in the foreground, in panel 2 and stuff like that. And drawing melted candles is super fun. It's sort of, if you want to know how to do it, basically think about everything pointing towards the middle. Like, even though stuff's melting out from it, I draw it so I'm thinking that everything's pointing into it, because it's easier to draw it. So she's still in a towel. I was going to make her naked, but then I thought that'd be a bit too much, and she's not really out of her towel in the other panels. And even though it's a mode, I'm not into drawing naked people unless there is a reason for it. Otherwise, it's just a bit silly. So what else am I doing here? I'm just chucking in a quick background. See, I'm really trying to draw. I'm quite happy with how well I'm drawing in backgrounds without using any perspective rulers now. I'm still going to use the perspective ruler when I ink it, just to get some real straight lines, just in case some of the lines aren't exactly straight. But I'll be filming the inking of this as well. You'll see what I'll do with them. So here we go. This is the shelf thing I was talking about. I stuck in the foreground. I actually make it bigger than this as well. And I even went back to panel 2 and I added that there was a bookshelf back there. And to me, it just makes the shot more interesting. So here's the head that I used in the end for Todd. It's a bit funny when I flip the perspective, but it looks fine from this angle, which is not great. So you'll probably see me work on that a bit more in inks. Yeah, it is a bit funny looking at it now. His cheekbone's a bit off. Let's see here. And I actually had a lot of fun. I've been studying a lot of fabrics recently, different types of fabrics and clothes, and stuff like that. And I'm really getting into pulling crunch points of fabrics. And if you don't know what I'm talking about, it just means like when you sort of turn your arm, the fabric's going to turn with your arm. Like, for instance, he's got his arm turned here, so you can see how I have it twisting from his elbow, because that's the pull point. Like, when his elbow bends, the fabric's pulling from that point because it's pushing against it. But since his arm is turned as well, facing down, like his palm's facing down, I have it twisting with it, and I do it on the other arm as well. And it's a lot of fun stuff. And there's a book by Cliff Young, which is all about drawing drapery, and it's a book from like the 1950s or the 1940s, and it's only like 40 pages long, but it's the best book on how to draw bows. To me, I read it like a couple times, and instantly I thought, wow, that was now I know how to draw clothes. Anyway, so thanks very much for watching. I'll be posting inks for these soon. I'm off all Saturday tomorrow, but I'll be back to post some inks. Thanks very much for watching, guys. You can check out my work at facebook.com/everything. Okay, bye.